break this thing down in your notes on some simple things we'd all agree on. We'd all agree that our first priority is God, right? We would all agree with that. Now, if you're in church and you're a Christian, you're a believer, you would agree with that. And if you don't, we don't really need to talk about sex. We need to talk about something totally different. Because I know I've said it, you've been in this church, you know it's the case. God must be our first priority. God must be our first priority. If He's not, we're not doing the thing right. But secondly, right behind that, our next priority is family. Starting with our spouse, Ephesians talked about that. Starts with our spouse and then our children, and then kind of everything else falls in behind that. So I want to talk to you just for a second, logically, analytically, just for a moment. Just for a second, step out of your personal situations, because you'd all go, yeah, but you don't understand. Yeah, but what if? Yeah, but you don't know my situation. I don't. So let's just step away from all of our situations and look at this globally and look at this analytically for just a moment. If your first priority is God, and your second is your spouse, that would include sex, and you lose your spouse by choice or not, or you never get a spouse by choice or not, it still stands in your notes that your first priority doesn't change, right? Your first priority doesn't change no matter what happens with your second priority. Therefore, our life shouldn't completely crumble if something happens with that second one. Now, I'm not saying I've never lost a spouse. I've never been in a divorce. I've never had a death like that of a spouse. I can't imagine what that's like. I'm not trying to lessen those of you who have lost spouses to a death. I just can't even imagine the pain and devastation and grief and the counseling and different things that need to happen. However, again, I'm just wanting you to step away from your situation for a second. Looking at this globally and analytically, if God is our first priority, no matter what happens to our second priority, no matter how devastating that gets, our first priority remains to be there. And so, bad things can happen, pain, devastation, counseling, anger, all those things, but our life shouldn't completely crumble, should it? If God is first, should it? Answer me. No, it shouldn't. Because if God is first, and we're following His Word says that you can have a peace that transcends all understanding, even in the most devastating of consequences. Oh, will it be painful? Yes. Will it hurt? Yes. Will it take time? Yes. But it is possible. He can transform your thinking. The Holy Spirit that lives inside of us gives us an opportunity to process through whatever pain that we have. It doesn't make it easy. It just makes it doable. It means that no matter what tragedy you go through in your life, even with a spouse, you can get through it if God is the first priority in your life. If He's not, and something happens to that second category, you're toast. We're pro-family here. We're pro-spouse. That's a great thing. Single's great too, but I mean, we love families and all that, but listen, you need to love God more than your wife, more than your husband. There is no arguing that. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But if you want to do this thing right and put things in the right perspective, we've got to have God as the center, as the foundation, as the strength of our lives. That has to be the all-consuming passion of our lives. We have to get that. Teenagers, you have to get that. Getting into college is not what life is all about. Being popular is not what life is all about. Having those incredibly great friends that you have now in high school that are just the bestest friends ever, and your parents don't have a clue, and these are the friends I would die for. This is what makes me happy. Those friends, 9 out of 10, if not 99 out of 100 of them, you won't even know they exist when the time you're 40. They can't be your priority. Not number one. God must be number one. I can't emphasize that enough. no matter how cliche it may stand, which brings us to our notes. A daily sacrifice is needed to make that happen.